Hey everyone, Coach Patrick here with another race podcast, part of our members series. We get a chance to meet people on the team, learn about their racing, race execution, hear what they're up to for the year. And special guest this time, we have someone not inside the United States. Dwane, how are you doing today?
Hey, Coach B. Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, it's a bit of a shock being on here. I was surprised to get the invite.
No, not at all.
Yeah, a bit surprised and terrified at the same time, I think.
Just like a race. It sounds perfect.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm all good,
Fantastic.
thanks. Considering the hectic schedule and training and workload,
I know.
yeah,
Give the listeners a background. So, like, obviously, family. I remember interacting at the beginning. You're really conscious of making sure you have family time on the weekends and so on, but you still have aspirations. Introduce yourself if you wouldn't mind.
exactly. Yeah, I'm married for the past, better get this right now,
Oh, we're recording.
18 years.
Nice.
Two girls, 21 and 16. So they're kind of past the stage where they need me around all the time. It's more at the stage where, are you still here or are you not going for a run now at this stage? Have you no training today? I currently work as a network field engineer, so it's a varied job that the hours like that can be varied throughout the whole week. It's fairly
Mhm.
physical when I'm out on site. A lot of the work is done out of hours. Like last night, it was 5 to 11 p.m. and then back on site this morning at 8. I mean, trying to
Mhm.
fit the training around that can be fairly stressful. And as
Wow.
far as triathlon now, I've only been a triathlete, so to say, since late 2015.
Okay.
I started off doing adventure races because I couldn't swim. So I've always wanted to do a triathlon, but I never had the push or drive to learn to swim. I had a massive fear of the water. A friend
Mhm.
of mine had asked me to do a half Ironman in in Dublin for suicide awareness because he had suffered with mental health and
Oh,
they'd helped him through it. So I was like, yeah, why not? It's a good
sure.
reason for me to get over my fear and try and help someone else out.
Okay.
I learned to swim in start of 2016. My races planned for that year before the Ironman, but picked up multiple injuries. So my first ever triathlon was actually Ironman 70.3 Dublin in 2016.
Oh,
It
okay.
was an experience. Yeah. The worst part of the day, which I was dreading, was the swim. Actually, turned out to be my favorite part. Swim went amazing. Bike was torture,
Okay.
but good, and the run was just horrible, horrible. Hated running back then. I'm not saying I'm a
Mm.
big fan of it now, but I like it a little bit more now.
Okay. I love
Since
that.
then,
So,
I've been just yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
just
Up,
I've just
keep
been doing like
catching up.
sprints and Olympics, a bit more running
Mhm.
events,
Okay.
and then last year, obviously, done my first full. Wanted to do the half Ironman and the full Ironman before my 40th and 45th
Okay.
birthday. That was my goal. I've done the
Mhm.
half Ironman on the day of my 40th birthday, and the full
Oh,
Ironman was due to be the day of my 45th, but due to COVID, it got pushed back a year, so I missed
oh,
out on that goal.
nah. Well, close. I say that's close enough.
Yeah,
We'll let you have a pass.
just this once.
Yeah, exactly. Just this
Yeah,
once. Next time you're 45, you have to get it right. Like that's not
exactly. Yeah.
okay. Fantastic. So I know. So up to speed. So now you're back to variable races, getting back to the half distance, like exploring that space. Like how, if you had to say how you've evolved over time, I know work is still crazy and so on. Do you like the training now? Do you like the racing now? Like how has multi-sport become part of your life?
I suppose I like it most of the time. Training, not
Hmm.
so much. Some of the training sessions that since joining Endurance
Hmm.
Nation have been
Hmm.
pure torture. I didn't know
Yes.
what hell was up until now.
Who wrote those things? I have no idea.
Exactly. When you see some of those, it's, oh my God, does he really want me to do
Hmm.
that? Is he for real?
Right. Mm.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, especially in the past year. But it's kind of part of my life now. I couldn't see myself
Mm.
going a year without doing a race or training
Yeah.
now. When I don't train, I get very irritable.
Yeah.
Family tend to notice that a lot. That's the first question I get asked when I'm in a bad
Oh,
mood.
yeah.
What have you done today?
Mhm.
Have you run? Have you gone? No, get out and do something before you kill somebody.
Exactly. Exactly. Or we kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a love hate relationship.
I like that. I know there's plenty of athletes. Some athletes, it's interesting on that sort of I love training, I love racing spectrum. There's some people who are like, just train all day. Race day is too stressful, but I need to be active, like you said, and that's my jam. And other people are like, I love racing. Like tons of people, lots of energy, all the excitement, etc. And like I'll do the training or help me do as little training as possible so I can have all this fun. and to do more fun.
Yeah. Once you
Yeah,
get
I
the
get
race started, it's the initial nerves and excitement building up to it. That's pretty good.
it.
And then
Mhm.
the race morning, it's horrible. But once the
Yes.
race starts,
Mm.
it's all worth it.
It is. I agree 100%. I was just in Plaza this weekend, and race weekend can obviously be super hectic for people, but it's just it's everyone's there for this thing, and then the thing happens, and they're just so happy that the thing happened. I think a lot of the parts of stress that come with it is, am I going to be able to do this? Is the event going to happen? Like you said, after COVID, and the event's happening, and they're doing it, and they're just like, oh, like I made it. Right? They haven't made it to the finish line yet, but they're in it.
Yeah. That's when
Yeah.
all the training kicks in then and you fall back on what you've done over the past couple of years or couple of
Mhm.
months, whatever. Getting to the finish line is a bonus.
It is 100%. But
Yeah.
we inside of rotation, we do these race simulations, which is part of that. And before we got on, you were just telling me about your 10-mile race simulation. Um,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
That was interesting. Like my wife and my daughter actually came out to the race. This is the first time she's been in
oh,
6, 7 years now. I
nice.
was getting up. I was up at 6:30 to have breakfast before I left, and she was
All
literally
right.
walking in the door from a night out with her
Oh,
friends. She looked at me, and I looked at her. I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing?" She said,
hey,
"Oh, I'm going out to race, and oh, I'll come with you. Why not?" It's okay, fair enough. So
all
she
right.
decided to come. I threw everything in the car, went off, got halfway there, realized, like I said, no earphones, no race belt. Back to the house again. Turn around, back to the house. Went to the house where I thought they were, couldn't find them. Picked up just a random set of earphones and a few pins for the race number. Back in the
Mm-hmm.
car, got a couple of minutes from the house, and then a light bulb moment. Ah, they're in my bag in the other car, which I had yesterday, and I put everything in that for this morning. So I was like, can we go back to the house one more time? So we got to the race 10 minutes before registration closed. Like I said, it
Okay.
was great anyway because otherwise I would have been standing around an extra 35 minutes in the rain beforehand. So it worked out for
Mm-hmm.
everybody in the end, really. The
Yeah.
race itself went great. It's the first time I
Okay.
properly paced the race and stuck to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so starting off, it was really weird, like having to try and slow down, and then you have all these people sprinting past you, and you that little
Right.
voice inside your head says, just go. It's okay. You can speed up, catch them, and then you're trying to hold
Right.
yourself back and slow yourself down for the first 40%, which is about 6.5k. Well,
Mhm.
stuck to the race pace for that. Felt great.
Right.
Next 6.5k still felt great, which I was surprised at. And the race pace picked up a bit. And then
Mhm.
towards the end, I was able to just go and race and really run it. And it felt great at the end of it. I felt like I could have gone on and done another 10 miles maybe.
Okay.
It was just a really enjoyable day. It's unusual to feel that good at the end of a race.
That's fantastic. That's great. Let's capture that. Like, let's celebrate that. I'll be like, that's amazing because, as the coach, that the ROI on pacing is massive. Puts you in control. Like people feel like they're in control and they're like, "Let's go." If we saw a teenager outside of a liquor store who was like, "Let's go," you're like, "That's not a good decision." But when
Yeah,
it's us and we're racing, we're like, "Go faster!" Seems like the best possible decision. But over the context of your day, the faster you go at the beginning, the fewer options you have later. Um, and
exactly.
the later
Yeah,
part of it becomes so hard. So when you finish a race like that and you're like, I'm running fast. I'm in control. Had a good time. This is great. Like that positively reinforces that pacing framework, which is
yeah.
really
Because
powerful.
previously it would have been the other end of the scale where it would start off and your adrenaline kicks in and you're running at
Hmm.
2 or 3 minutes faster per kilometer than you should be running. And then
Hmm.
before you know it,
Hmm.
you have nothing else left and you have to slow down and then maybe
Oh,
walk a little bit. It just makes the
hmm.
day torture.
Oh,
It's not enjoyable.
unbelievable
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Plus,
The amount of
it's a
times you
heck
go
of.
through it. Yeah. Your head, you're like,
I
I'm
was
never
gonna say,
doing this again, ever.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah, that's how you finish.
Yeah.
And I also have a medal. Like, what? Yeah. Also, just running past all those people at the end too. The folks who did make those bad decisions, and
Exactly. Because that's what was going through my head at the beginning. I was like, I'll see you again in a few kilometers. It was
yeah.
nice to know that you, from previous experience, where you would have been that person getting past five,
Oh
six,
yeah.
7 kilometers later for going in
Hmm.
too hard.
And the difference too is when you take that run outside of the run environment, put it inside a multi-sport environment. We say, oh, these people will have biked before this or swam and biked before they got to this. That that speed, that the time that they can run fast in a 10 miler, most people can still run pretty fast for a while.
Yeah.
But you put the other elements before it and say run fast, and then they're fast is barely half as long. Maybe they can do it for 3 miles, maybe four, not eight. And all of a sudden, they really run into trouble. And for you to be following that pace plan, you'll actually start passing people in the middle part when you're just doing the steady. Forget about the race part. You'll be like, what's something's not right because I should be running the same pace. They should all be ahead of me running this pace, but they were running too fast and now they're running too slow.
Yeah, and there's always constantly
Especially,
going through my head like it's the whole idea is not to slow down as much as I have previously.
totally.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk about that too because I think what's interesting to me is there's two parts. So in the beginning, we just want to go fast, so we have to use our control to be, restrained.
yeah,
At the end, you're close to the finish, and we can all go fast. Like we've all seen it at the finish line. Like someone who they could walk 25 miles of a marathon. At the last mile, they're running like an elite Olympian because they're close to the finish. Like the motivation kicks in. But I think
exactly.
between those two parts, the two bookends, there's all this opportunity where that mental strength comes into play. And I think what most people think of when they think about mental stuff is be strong, Dwayne strong, crush it, beat that hill. But for me, it's a lot about how do I become more efficient with my energy and where do I find all the little places? So I actually think about running in a race a lot like riding a bike because you can shift gears on a bike and maybe you're coasting sometimes or you change your position when you're climbing. We're very dynamic on the bike. But when we think about running, we're like, I just run.
Yeah,
Legs go up, legs go down, run goes up, goes down. So I think maybe breaking up some of those elements of the race too can be really helpful for you
it does. Yeah,
as you think about
even the shift in mindset of how to approach it and how to actually execute the races has been completely different. Before, I was just trying to get from A to B and
it.
not die until the end.
Until exactly you want to time it so that like your finish line is the actual finish line. Like
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
did it,
yeah.
and then you fall over. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think honestly, one of the biggest challenges that people have at multisport is the nutrition side and being able to the first pacing part is really just to make sure we can continue fueling because later on we just won't want to, as we
Yeah,
get.
that's another thing I've tried to work on recently as well. To getting my
Mhm.
nutrition nailed in, which I'd say I'm probably about 98% there now at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been fairly good now the past couple
What's
of race simulations, and I've been using the nutrition
okay.
for training sessions and stuff. Which is
Right.
previously I'd either do them fasted with no fuel whatsoever, or
Oof,
with the runs maybe a bit of water or something, or didn't want any GI distress during the run. But now I've gotten to the stage where I
wow.
know I can eat beforehand,
Good.
and I feel the same as I do on race day now, and it's made a massive
Good.
difference.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You have
That's
the energy.
awesome.
There's not as
Mhm.
much fatigue. You're feeling great during the sessions instead of feeling crappy throughout the whole lot and just wanting the whole thing over and done with.
Totally. I think what's another thing that people sort of generally they kind of start off with that sort of low calorie. We haven't been really fueling our workouts or we've been working out low. So what's another 20 minutes of running? I don't really need to change anything. And I vastly prefer that people start thinking about exercising fasted or something much later in the season. You need to feel yourself performance. You have to get strong, you have to get to know your body and you start to understand your needs. Once we have all of that in place, then we can say already what we should be eating and what we're missing. And we can do a better job of making decisions with that I fuel when I work out context, as opposed to the typical getting a bottle of exercise. It's a pain. Like it's over there, the bike's over there. I'm just going to go to the bike. Who needs food? And you end up in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Um,
I've set it up now, as you can see, with the bike is just there right behind me.
oh yeah,
And
hmm
then on the right hand side, then I have a shelving with all my buckets for
nice.
different stuff. So it has everything's right beside. So there's no excuses as
Mhm.
such.
Nice. I think it's really important. Like I find myself what's really interesting, and I love the idea you have it there because it's so important. Because I'll say to myself, "Oh, I'm going to eat." Say at the 10-minute mark and the 40-minute mark of every hour. And it's 32 minutes into the workout and I'm like, oh, I ate at 10 but I'm actually hungry, and I'll be like telling myself, don't eat, 8 more minutes, don't eat. I'm like, wait, what am I doing? If I'm hungry I should just eat something. If I want, it's right here, I should eat it and then I can solve later. And I think getting into a space where you can be better in tune with your body and say, oh, I'm hungry now, I'm going to eat versus not eat, all of that's really important. Like it's like a relationship with your gut and your muscles.
Yeah.
Hey, you need more fuel. Like maybe yesterday I didn't eat enough dinner. I don't know, but to have it right there is super important. What's your go-to fuel you have over there? What's in those buckets?
I'm on Infinite now. I've moved to
Okay.
Infinite from Tailwind. I found with Tailwind I was getting very hungry after say
Mm,
an hour and a half, 2 hours. But with
okay.
the Infinite now, I'm finding much better. There's more calories, more carbs, and those work better for me at the moment. There's no GI distress. tried
Excellent.
it out a couple of weekends, a couple of races, and
Okay.
it's been great.
That's fantastic. Did you customize it at all? That's the best part
Not
about it.
yet, no. So we
Oh,
had a call with their nutrition guy there, and we went through everything with the races, how
okay.
everything works for me, and he's
Mhm.
just try out the normal blends first, give them a go, and we'll touch
Mhm.
base again in 3 or 4 weeks, see how it's working, and if we need to customize them
Okay.
at that stage, we will then. But the,
Yeah.
the regular non-customized stuff seems to be working okay at the moment.
Good. Yeah, they've done a great job. One of the interesting parts about their system is obviously they let people customize their formulas. And what people don't realize is like behind the scenes, that's really informing a lot of their own product. When they see
Yeah,
that last year, say 10,000 people ordered and 5,000 did this thing, they're like, oh, there's clearly some interest in having a higher sodium formula, or people really like this item versus a non item. So they get to use that data and feedback to customize and adjust their own baseline products, not to mention what you toggle as well.
yeah. I
Uh,
like the way they give you the option of meeting with one of their guys as well to talk through everything before you order, so you know exactly what will work for your plans and
mhm.
your goals.
Yes. No, it's super important. And like you said, they're also like they have your order and you can go back and take your base order and start adjusting the
Yeah,
sliders, a little more sodium, etc. I always tell people like it's a great system. Infinite Run's a great system. My structure of that is if you're going to use it on the bike, for example, like it's your go-to. You can have some other items that you have on hand, but for the most part, like Infinite works really well as the thing, right? You can't be like I'm Infinite, but I'm also Gatorade and I'm also 3 bars and I'm also 4 gels. That's not as great. So like Infinite works. The simpler that system
yeah.
is, the better. And then I
That's
usually
what I
tell
like about
people,
it. Yeah.
yeah. And then on the run as well, figuring out like if people still want to use Infinite on the run, have a handheld or something that you can take for a few miles, and then we'll kind of transition off that to whenever we can get on the course for some
Yeah,
version.
that's what we're trying to figure out how to carry the extra sachets. But I've just got like a little loops in the run belt, so I'll just put the sachets into them and just top them
Okay.
up at the water stations as I go along or as needed.
Perfect. That's perfect. You know, another thing that I've done in the past that you could try or not try. I've made a I've done this before with just salt. So I need a lot of salt in longer races. So I'll take Gator Lights, which is Gatorade, just salt, like it's a little salt packet that Gatorade makes. And I would put that one of those in my bottle and I'd have 2 bottles with the salt in the bottom. And then I would just go to the first aid station and put water into that bottle. And I've got salty water. And then when I run to the next aid station and someone gives me a cup of Gatorade, I could just squirt the salt water, like one squirt in the cup. Now it's super salty Gatorade, and I can drink my super salty drink, and I'm happy. So I get to spike it like a crazy
Ah,
person at a party. So in your case, if you've got the infinite, one option you may want to try is, hey, can I make just one bottle that's like a concentrated version of infinite? And when I get to an aid station, I can just put a squirt of that into the water and drink the water. And now that mixture is good, right? So whatever the cup is they give you, say it's 8 ounces or whatever, it'd be like squirt. I can drink that. So I'm not drinking the concentrated infinite, but you only need one bottle and you only have to do it once.
oh, that's a
And
good
so you
option
don't have
actually.
to,
Yeah.
that way you're not like
Ah,
every aid station. You're like, now I will open this sachet. I will pour it into the thing. Can you hold this cap, please? I got to fake. And then all of a sudden,
yeah. It was like a crazy deal last Sunday with that, with the table, the water and the sachet and
oh yeah.
the handheld bottle.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
realize how
That's
much
not
an
that.
ordeal it is. So, yeah, but
Give that a
the
good
way
shot.
I, yeah, that's another good option. I suppose you learn something new every day.
Hey, I just again, it's that sort of if you've got like in a half Ironman, if you've got 5 of those or 6 of those stops you need to do, if we can make it just one, oh, we just saved you 4 minutes on whatever your time was going to be if it works. So it's
Yeah,
something to think about for sure.
something to try out.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. The infinite, I love it. Okay, awesome. Let's talk about the rest of your year. Like obviously, with the races building up and getting the season, what's on your agenda? What do you have?
So obviously I have the half Ironman in August. That should be an interesting one. Love that for support. It's amazing down there. It was over, what is it, 20, maybe 3,000 feet of climbing in that one in the half Ironman.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
So yeah, I
that's
think there's
legit.
900 and something meters. Yeah, it's a tough one, but it's not too, it's spread out over. It's not all like big climbs. There's
Okay.
1 or 2 sections that like be 8 or 10K long where it's just 2 or 3, 4% constantly.
Okay.
And the big climb ends at the end where it gets up to 21%, right just before you transition into T2.
Oh my goodness. What's the name of the race?
It's Ironman Cork. So the hill at the end would be Windmill Hill. You can Probably Google the videos of that one. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm
It's
gonna
a
pull it
short
up here.
hill, but it goes from it starts out at 8 or 9%, and then maxes out around 21, 22%.
Wow, what's the distance though on that? Is it it's 56, right? It's the full.
Yeah,
Um, I'm looking it up online, and I'm like, wait, here we go. Here we go. Here, I'll share my screen real fast. We can, if I can get it in here. So, this one here, does that look like that course for you?
yeah, it slightly changes here, but that's most of it. Yeah,
That's the Ironman, I think. So we're just
yeah,
you'd be talking about the half. All
yeah. So if
right.
you look at the third one down, I think is the half distance.
There we
Is
go.
that? Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I
that's about
see.
right
Yep.
there. Yeah,
And you got that kicker right there at the end, that
right there at the end. Yeah,
super steep. Okay. All right.
that they literally put that just as you come off but that's right before you transition onto the run. Then, so
That's going to
that's
be
you have
tough.
kind of decision whether if you want to. It's hard not to give it a go because of the crowd support. It's like you're saying, you're watching the
Mm.
Tour de France. You know where the crowds on the side of the road really closed in. That's exactly what it's
Mm-hmm.
like going up there. You got the guy
Mm-hmm.
at the top on the mic, music blaring, and then the crowds the way lined up the road.
Wow. Yeah. So it's like the energy's right there. You got to do it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hear you. And you can see as you zoom in on this, like all of this is undulating this whole time. Like you mentioned, it's just lots of little things in here.
yeah. It's when you just get over 50K, just over the halfway mark. That's when it starts getting the just there.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Thing out of the way here. I'll take that other way so we can see it. Okay. This definitely, to me, reminds me a lot of what we were talking about your half marathon. You've got this little section here, which is like a warm up. It's going to take you a little bit to
yeah,
get into it anyway. You'll feel it on these hills. But then I think the key here is, really try how fast can you be in this section without working too hard?
yeah.
Because,
That's a
like you
great little
said,
section because there's a nice. The roads in that section are really good. It goes
okay.
down along by the coast there, and you get it
Hmm.
in and out of the forest. It's amazing. There's one or two little. There's one section just at 20K where you
Okay.
literally go around the left hand corner, and it's yeah, that's it there. Yeah, that road
Yeah.
before that
Hmm.
and after it, it's great. That one brings you along the estuary and then in through a little forest. It's beautiful. You can
Okay.
really pick up a lot of speed there. See
Wonderful.
that those kind of places where the tri bike could pay off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The way that we think about one piece of guidance for that type of stuff is we typically have like our climbing guidance. And so the first question is, can I just get over this hill? If it's a little bump, then you can stay in your same gear and give it a little push, because pushing hard for 10 seconds, you're just going to go right over the top and you keep your momentum, right?
Yeah,
If it's a hill that you're like, oh, this is just long enough that I can't push over it, then we have to start shifting and keeping our effort steady. And when we get to the top of the hill is when we get right back on it. So especially for some of those longer climbs at the end, it's, get into my zone, sit up. I'm going to spin up this hill, be really smart. But when I get to the top, instead of catching my breath and spinning easily, I'm literally click, click, go too harder. I might stand up for a couple and try and get from 10 miles an hour back to 18 or 20 miles an hour as
yeah,
soon as I can, because that's all free speed. And you want to eliminate that coasting part. And the nice part is, you're not working too hard on the uphill. In a bike race, work hard on the uphill because it separates you. But in triathlon, we don't want to work hard on the uphill because you still got to run.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
that's where people run into trouble. So I always use, especially in that second half of that course, when the road goes up, just sit up, deep breaths, like be smart, steady pacing, and just work those downhill sections. We're a lot better off, and still fast. Actually, it'll be interesting because the people pull away from you on the hill, and eventually they stay the same. They ride hard, and you're like, I'm going to ride smart. And they get up the hill, and then they're like, ooh, that feels so good. So they slow down, and now you're like this far apart, going up the hill at the same distance. You get to the top, and that person just stops, and you're still riding steadily because they're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. They're not really pedaling. And then you just pedal right past them, and you just use your energy on the downhill and didn't waste your time on the uphill.
instead of being one of the other people where it would have been previously.
Exactly. That's what we're doing. We are reversing you, Dwayne. We're turning you into the opposite of what you were, making you a racing machine for sure, putting you in
Exactly.
control
Yeah.
and getting you fueled. I love it. I
The
love it.
difference even in the year with the way I look at things now and the
Mm,
pacing and the nutrition and how I approach all the different sessions and stuff. If I had
mm.
this for the Ironman last year, Jesus, it would have been a much different race.
That's all right. That's what I think. Sometimes when people sign up for us just for the first Ironman, there's just so much happening and the day's so long. It's hard for people to sustain the focus they need to race. Even really successful athletes you see inside the team, some of the stuff they've learned over time, it's autopilot. But there's other parts they
Yeah.
still mess up on, and it just happens. I think it's actually better for you to learn it at all these little small events because it'll add up on the next time you go big. You'll be like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Or if you just go faster or whatever you race, you'll have those frameworks. I think it's so important,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, which is fantastic. All right, so we got August. We got Cork in August. Are you going to do any running or later in the
Yeah.
year, or
Yeah.
what's the
I
plan?
have the Dublin Marathon then end of October.
Woo! There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, outstanding.
Hopefully we get to that this year without any injuries, unlike last year.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah. It cost
critical.
me big
Well, I
time
think.
last year. Yeah. But I think this year I'm much more prepared and kind of know when to back off this time rather than to keep pushing through and
Mhm,
aggravate and make the injury a lot worse, which is what I done last year and ended up costing me
mhm.
6 months of training.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. We may even want to start off. We have different marathon plans, and so we have the basic plan and we have the balance plan, which is more cycling involved. It could be something where we say, "Hey, let's transition into an increase in run train time by using the bike early, and then migrating it to morning as well as your body adapts." We all have a period where we have to adapt to the stress.
Yeah.
The issue is, can you get through the period? Once you've adapted, then you're okay. The challenge becomes if that part of you, your Achilles, your plantar, your name the thing, your patella tendon, your hip flexor, if it doesn't have time to adapt, that's where things go wrong. You know, we have to be really mindful of that. But I'm pleased. I think your consistent training this year, and the work that you're doing so far is going to be is going to pay dividends in the fall. I really see that.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Even the recent mishap with the second place at the aqua bike, that's something I never had before either. It
It's
was,
pretty awesome.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Because that day my niece was out with us and she was like, you're not going to win any trophies. And I was like, well, I'm not fast enough to win any trophies. And then when she found out I came second, she's like, oh, well done. That's great. So when are you going to come first now?
Ah, that's how you know somebody really likes you, as they talk to you like that,
Yeah.
right? No, that's so funny. You go from never having to think about that thing to all of a sudden having a thing, and yeah, the expectations, and we all do that. I think that's one of my biggest excitements for people in your position is you learn the ropes and are doing things and exploring new places to train and race. Like you pick up all these other pieces, and it's nice when you get some external validation. Oh, hey, I'm
Yeah.
doing something right. Like, hey, so you should be super proud of that. That's fantastic. Actually, just this weekend, I was in Lake Placid. I told you, and I was hanging out with an athlete who had a similar story where it turned out he had a good race. He was at the finish line to cheer on his friend who he knew had done well, who had done very well. He had no idea what he had done in his own thing, but they're standing around and they're going through the other age groups before they get to his friend's age group, and he gets like fifth place. And his wife is like, "They're saying your name. What's happening?" He's like, "I don't understand what's happening." He didn't even realize he'd come in fifth in his age group. He presumed that he hadn't. It was that same. Oh, okay. Oh, something must be working.
Yeah, that's exactly what
So
happened to me. I was getting texts from the club mates just to check the times that I come in second. I'm like, oh, they must have got that wrong somewhere. It's definitely not me.
it's the other Dwayne, not
Yeah.
me. No. Oh, that's awesome. I'm super pumped for you. Hey, listen, this has been great catching up. I appreciate you sharing your story and letting us know, but keeping it real. I think in time conversation, there's a lot of people who seem super serious or semi-professional, but we all do the things you
If
talk
you can't
about, like
laugh at
leaving
yourself,
stuff behind.
there's no point in living.
Exactly. I hear you. I hope you are laughing all the way through those hills in Cork, although maybe there'll be a few four-letter words in there
No,
as
I quite
well.
enjoyed the bike and the suffering last time. I think the on the race day, the
Mhm.
harder it is, the more I tend to enjoy. The more I see other people suffering, the more
This
I
is
tend to
true.
enjoy the day.
I love it. Okay, good. Then I expect a high level of enjoyment for you as you're there. And we'll be looking for you. We'll be tracking you as a team, obviously, over race weekend. So you got to tell us your number and we'll put it in the tracker when the race comes around so we can cheer you on,
Yeah, it's only
which is perfect.
a little over 3 weeks away now, so yeah,
I
not long.
know. The best thing about the time zone is I can wake up and cheer you on. I don't have to wait until later in the day. So
Yeah,
make sure where you have all the info. Brenda will ask, so you have to give it to her.
oh,
Otherwise,
definitely,
Brenda
yeah.
gets a little fired up. Yeah, don't want to do that. Yeah.
You don't want to mess with her.
No, not at all. No, sir. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for your time, Brenda. I appreciate you fitting us in for the interview.
No problem. Thanks for the invite. Hopefully, somebody
Of
gets
course.
something worthwhile out of this.
100%. No, not at all. Don't worry about it. I appreciate a chance to talk about the race and to hear about your evolution and share some key insights. And I can't wait to hear about how the race goes.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Coach Pete.
Cheers. All right,
Thanks.
Dane. See y'all.
See
Take
you later.
care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.